right, this is our construction part of the unit. So we're going to go back to the compass and straight edge again. So hopefully you have that at your desk right now. And a lot of these skills, or all of these skills, none of them are new. It's just putting together old skills that you can see listed here in order to complete the constructions for this unit. So that's kind of nice, except it requires perhaps a little more thought when you're going to make the construction. So what are the old skills we're going to use? Well, one is copy and bisect an angle. Why? Because we need to be able to construct parallels, because this is all about parallelograms and specific types of parallelograms, rectangles, rhombuses, squares. We need to copy and bisect a segment, so construct equilateral and isosceles triangles. So that shouldn't be new information, it's just recalling what you've done in the past. And then constructing a perpendicular through a point on a line and through a point not on a line. So constructing right triangles. So let's look at this first example. We're going to do some review first. I'll take you through the review. And then what I want you to do is try the construction work on your own. And if you're stuck, you can go to the second video and watch how I've done it. But just because I do it a specific way doesn't mean it's the only way. There's going to be quite a variety of ways you can approach these problems. So this first one, complete the construction of the following parallelogram ABCD. So you've been given two sides of the parallelogram. We need to complete it. Well, there's 4 different ways, or maybe even 5 different ways you can develop a parallelogram. You can go with the definition. The definition says we need to have opposite sides parallel to each other. Well, we've already learned how to construct parallel lines. We could do corresponding angles right here. So what does that mean? So we're going to start with that. So corresponding angles, the first thing you need to do is line up your ruler. You can't see my ruler right now, but line up your ruler and extend this line right here. So I extend this line, and then I have to go about constructing or copying this angle, right? So go ahead and copy this angle. So I make the same arc from point C that I did from point A. And then remember, you're measuring how wide that angle is opened by going ahead and adjusting your compass to this width over here of the angle. And then we're imitating that over here on our new angle. So I've copied an angle, so now I go from point C to this intersection point and draw my new side. So you take your ruler, you line it up. Sorry, my ruler's a little off on my board. There we go. So now I know that these two sides are parallel to each other. Well, if we go with the theorem that says if one pair of sides is both parallel and congruent, then my opposite sides, those other two sides, other pair of sides, is going to also be congruent to each other. So what do? The easiest way to finish this, instead of making another corresponding angle, it's just to measure, oops, sorry, down here. You need to measure how wide this part is. Oh, sorry, my fault. That's not what you need to do. Sorry. We need to measure this length. Right, so if I measure that length here, I need to replicate that over here from point C. So now I've ensured that both of these lengths are the same length. Sorry, I don't know what happened over here. Had a little bit of a brain freeze. So now I'm going to connect A to this intersection point using my ruler, line those up. And this is parallelogram A, B, C. So this has to be point D. So I did this by doing one pair of sides that are both parallel and congruent. Okay, now that was not the easiest way, but I didn't want to start with the easiest way. I wanted to show you something. I want you to think about it and say to yourself, okay, was there an easier way to do this? What other ways could you prove something as a parallelogram? And I'm not going to show you now. I want you to think about it. And if you think you have an easier or a simpler way, a quicker way, when I say simpler, I mean more efficient, something that could have been done quicker, less steps, then just confirm with your teacher. Was that correct? So there is a simpler way, but confirm with your teacher. See if you're correct. Okay, the next one. Number 2, construct a parallelogram given that segment AC is a diagonal. Okay, segment AC is a diagonal. Sorry, I need to get my compass down here. So hopefully you've thought about that for a minute. So AC needs to be a diagonal. Okay, what do we know about diagonals of a parallelogram? They must bisect each other. So what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to bisect segment AC. If we can bisect segment AC, then we will be able to find the midpoint, which means we can create the other diagonal. So let's just first bisect segment AC, and then we'll talk about what we're doing here. So I bisected here, I have this point, I have this point. So if I construct this other diagonal right here, right, well this has been bisected. Those are the equally distant from segment AC, and this is also bisected right there. So if I connect A to this point, C to this point, to these 2 points, don't I have a parallelogram? Yes, because what do we know about diagonals? We know both diagonals must bisect each other. So both being the key word here. So both diagonals must bisect each other. When you draw this purple line, we could have made it any length we wanted. We could have extended. Then you could have taken your parallelogram or your compass here and made it longer, right? You could have said, well, I want to make it a little bit different. I could have made that little mark there, made the mark out here, and then I could have also connected. So this is another option for my parallelogram, right? That pink one, the red one, those are parallelograms. We can go anywhere along this second diagonal as long as the distance from here and out to that point is congruent on both ends. So both diagonals need to bisect each other. So if we're making parallelogram A, B, C, D, or A, B, C, D. So you could have an infinite amount of sized parallelograms, but the key was this here. Okay, number 3, construct a square using side AD. So we have already given side AD, and I need to construct square ABCD. Okay, so what do we know about squares? Squares have 4 sides that are congruent, and they have 4 right angles. So what do you think we need to do first? Hopefully you said in your brain that you need to do a 90-degree angle either at A or at D, or actually you need to do it at both. So how do you do 90-degree angles through a point on a line? Well, step number 1 is to put your ruler up there and extend the line. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to line up my ruler here. So extend the line. Why am I extending the line? Because I have to do the construction of a perpendicular through the point on the line. So go ahead and do that now. So I've constructed two perpendiculars at A and D. So I know those are two right angles right there at A and D. So I have two right angles. So now what should I focus on? Should I try to do right angles up here? Well, no. I know these lines have to be parallel to each other because two lines that are perpendicular to the same line are parallel to each other. Okay, but a square has to have four sides that are the same length. So if I just now focus on that aspect and I focus on this length, so what do I need to do? I just need to scoop, find that length up here, so I didn't draw my blue line long enough, go over here, make that intersection here. So I need to go back with my ruler, extend this line, and then if I connect this intersection and this intersection, then I have completed my square. So these have to be 90-degree angles because these were congruent, they're parallel to each other, and if these two are right angles, then these are automatically going to be right angles, so you have your square. A, B, C, D. So all four sides are congruent, all angles are 90 degrees. Was that the only way of doing it? No. Again, there are a variety of ways, so you have a lot of options. You might have come up with something different. So that's the notes for the day. I will do a different video that has all of the answers to the construction practice after this, but first I want you to try it on your own, right? Try and problem solve it, see how you do. Ask people around you for some help. If you're stuck, then go look at the video. Okay, good luck.